I'll remember sometime. Let's call this meeting to order, Champaign County Board. It's Thursday, June 24th, 2010. The time is 7:03. Roll call, please.
Richards. Rosales.
Here.
Sapp. Schrader.
Here.
Smucker.
Here.
Wysocki.
Here.
Ammons.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Beckett.
Here.
Benzel.
Here.
Betts.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Coert.
Present.
Denitz.
Here.
Gladney.
Present.
James.
Here.
Jay.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Knott.
Here.
Kurtz.
Here.
Langenheim.
Here.
McGinty.
Here.
Michaels.
Here.
Mosier.
Here.
Nudo.
Here.
O'Connor.
Here.
Weibel.
Here, we have a quorum. Tonight's prayer is a prayer to the summer solstice, which was a couple days ago. The sun is high above us, shining down upon the land and sea, making things grow and bloom. Great and powerful one, we honor you this day and thank you for your gifts. You are known by many names. You are the light over the crops, the heat that warms the earth, the hope that springs eternal, the bringer of life. We welcome you and we honor you this day, celebrating your light, as we begin our journey once more into the darkness. Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk read the notice of the meeting, please?
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, will convene on June 24, 2010, 7 o'clock p.m. in the Lyle Shields Meeting Room, Brookings Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payment of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting, which said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
Move approval.
Moved by Mr. Betts, second by Ms. Wysocki. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Seek approval of the agenda and the addendum.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Rosales, second by Ms. Wysocki. Discussion?
I had a question. If I wanted to pull D2 on the goldenrod.
We'll do that under consent agenda.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Date and time of our next meeting will be just the county board meeting next month. We will not have any committee of the whole meetings. So that'll be Thursday, July 22nd, 2010 at 7 p.m. in this room. Moving on to the consent agenda. Now, are there any items that take off the consent agenda? Mr. Rosales.
I wanted to pull D2 and place on the regular agenda for discussion.
Item B,
D2 on the finance.
D2. D2, that'd be resolution number 7388. Is there anything else? Mr. John.
Thank you. E13, Res 7411, I'd like to put on the regular agenda, please.
The very last one, the very last one under policy personnel appointments, E13.
Second to last.
Oh, I'm sorry, 12?
Oh, no, you're right. The last one. Yeah.
13.
Yeah.
Got that, Mr. Betts?
I'm getting it.
Okay, anything else? Okay, roll call. Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Beckett. Moved by Mr. Beckett, second by Mr. McGinty. Now we'll have a roll call.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Smucker.
Yes.
Wysocki.
Yes.
Ammons. Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett.
Yes.
Benzel.
Yes.
Betts.
Yes.
Carter.
Mr. Carter, this is consent agenda. Is that to reconsider? Thank you.
Coert. Denitz.
Yes.
Gladney.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim.
Yes.
McGinty.
Yes.
Michaels.
Yes.
Mosier.
Yes.
Nudo.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Weibel.
Yes, motion carries. Public participation. I have no forms. Is there anybody out there who wishes to speak? Well, we'll close public participation. Communications. Any communications from board members? Mr. Kurtz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. On Monday, I attended the graduation of 11 drug court participants. The program is headed up by Judge Jeffrey Ford. I want to congratulate the participants, but a very well done to the drug court staff who made this a great success. This program has, over the last few years, produced over 100 graduates in a very successful program to help straighten out the lives of repeat offenders in the criminal justice system. Now, on Tuesday, I attended the Mental Health Board meeting, and because of the success of the drug court program, the Mental Health Board is planning a mental health treatment court to do the same thing. I applaud them in starting this much-needed program and wish them as much success as the drug court. Thank you.
Ms. Anderson.
The only thing I would say about that is it's not coming just from the Mental Health Board. They're involved in it. But Judge DeFanis is really the chief judge, and he's the one that has really drawn the group together. But of course, the Mental Health Board is very pleased that this is happening. Or it's really just getting started. It not even really started, but the planning for it.
Thank you. Mr. Gladney.
Thank you. Just wanted to announce that the Citizens Advisory Committee on Jury Selection has started producing PSAs that will be airing on various radio stations around the community. The first one has been heard on WHMS today, so I just want people to keep their ears open for those, and hopefully they're successful in upping our jury participation countywide. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Gladney. Ms. Wysocki.
Some members of the county board had asked for the hardbound copy of the LRMP, and those should be found at your desks tonight if you had requested such. There are some others who requested a CD version of the same report, and Susan Monty says that these will not be available until July, so those will be distributed later on.
Mr. Beckett.
I'm actually repeating something that you told me, but since it's an announcement, I'm going to do it. The board will recall that we have a grant-funded construction academy that is used to assist young people to prepare for building trade apprenticeship programs. We have approximately 15, 16 students in the program this summer, and at least nine of them are minority youth.
Actually, 9 are African American. I think there might be 3 Hispanic.
3 Hispanic?
I think so, yeah. Mr. Rosales.
I just wanted to give thanks to Unit 4 schools for actually hosting 2 groundbreaking ceremonies that I attended, one of which Garden Hills Elementary School, as well as Booker T. Washington. Despite the rain and despite the inclement weather, I thought it was a very successful event. And we're on our way to creating a STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math program at Booker T. So we look forward to that completion in about a year or so.
Thank you. Other communications? Okay, let's move on to the minutes. I seek approval of the minutes for the County Board study session, open session meetings of May 11, 2010, and the County Board regular meeting minutes May 20, 2010.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Smucker, second by Mr. Langenheim. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports. Environment and Land Use. Ms. Wysocki.
There's just one item for action. This is the vote came from the Committee of the Whole to recommend approval of ordinance number 863, which amends the Champaign County zoning ordinance, case number 634-8T-08, Part B, which has to do with zoning requirements for small wind turbines. And I so move.
Second by Ms. Amons. Discussion. Ms. Wysocki.
I want to make the public aware of the fact that these zoning requirements for small wind turbines actually provide more flexibility for the owners while ensuring a better protection for the neighbors. So generally speaking, I think the net effect of these changes are for the good. I would also ask that because this is a zoning ordinance change, that we need a simple majority, which has to be determined by roll call.
Okay. Further discussion? See none, roll call.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Schmucker.
Yes.
Wysocki.
Yes.
Ammons.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett.
Yes.
Benzel.
Yes.
Betts.
Yes.
Carter.
Yep.
Cowart.
Yes.
Dennitz.
Yes.
Gladney.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim.
Yes.
McGinty.
Yes.
Michaels.
Yes.
Mosier.
Yes.
Nudo.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Weibel.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Wasaki.
That's all from me, look.
County Facilities, Mr. Beckett.
I move adoption of resolution number 7373, approving contract with IGW in an amount not to exceed $13,300 to prepare a design-build RFP for the Coroner's Office County Clerk/County Storage Facility, and I so move.
Second on Ms. Cowart. Discussion.
The contract is actually at your desk this evening. It's item 1 on the county board agenda items. I asked Mr. DeThorne to review the contract, and I heard back nothing from him, so I'm assuming he believes it's in proper form. It just got his blessing.
Further discussion and blessings. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move adoption of resolution number 7374, approving agreement with IGW. I can't remember the amount. Can you help me? In an amount not to exceed $22,900 for professional services for the Elias Training Center roof replacement, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. James. Discussion.
Same. I asked Mr.
Good.
DeThorne to review this contract as well.
Further discussion. Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That's all the action for facilities.
Okay, Finance. Mr. McGinty?
I'm going to go ahead and have Mr. Rosales cover for this evening, please.
Okay,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Rosales.
Finance Committee moves to adopt resolution number 7382, purchase not following purchasing policy.
Moved by, second by, that's a move, that's second by Mr. Kurtz. Discussion. See none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Also, adoption of resolution number 7383, payment of claims authorization.
Second.
Mr. Rosales moves this, so Ms. Amons is the second. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
The committee also moves to adopt resolution number 7384, emergency budget, for the total amount of $140,149 for updating the equipment and grant funds for 2010.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. James. Discussion. See none, roll call.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Smucker.
Yes.
Wysocki.
Yes.
Ammons.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett.
Yes.
Benzel.
Yes.
Betts.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Cowart.
Yes.
Dennitz.
Yes.
Gladney.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim.
Yes.
McGinty.
Yes.
Michaels.
Yes.
Mosier.
Yes.
Nudo.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Weibel.
Yes, motion carries.
The committee also moves to adopt resolution number 7385, emergency budget of a total of amount of $25,000 to accommodate expanded Illinois law enforcement training standard board funding.
Second by Mr. Mosier. Is there discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Smucker.
Yes.
Wysocki.
Yes.
Ammons.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett.
Yes.
Benzel.
Yes.
Betts.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Cowart.
Yes.
Dennitz.
Yes.
Gladney.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim.
Yes.
McGinty.
Yes.
Michaels.
Yes.
Mosier.
Yes.
Nudo.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Weibel.
Yes, motion carries.
The Finance Committee also moves to adopt Resolution 7413 from the emergency budget to the General Corporate Fund for the total of amount of $5,799 for the reasons of considerations of purchase and installation of high-efficiency lighting and occupancy sensors in the Champaign County Courthouse paid by the Public Sector Electric Efficiency Program through the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity.
Second.
Second by Mr. Smucker. Discussion. Seeing none, roll call.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Smucker.
Yes.
Wysocki.
Yes.
Ammons.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett.
Yes.
Benzel.
Yes.
Betts.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Cowart.
Yes.
Dennitz.
Yes.
Gladney.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim.
Yes.
McGinty.
Yes.
Michaels.
Yes.
Mosier.
Yes.
Nudo.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Weibel.
Yes, motion carries.
The Finance Committee also moves to adopt the resolution number 7412 approving a memorandum of understanding between AFME Council 31 regarding furlough days.
Second by Ms. Ammons. Discussion. Mr. James.
Just some clarification.
Microphone, please.
Sure. Thank you. On page 49 in our packet, item number 7, just so I'm clear, it says all bargaining unit employees will receive their birthday. Does that mean even those that weren't furloughed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Further discussion. Wait, not yet. Further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Addendum item number C1, Finance, Standing Committee Reports. Adoption of resolution number 7414, emergency budget to the General Corporate Fund for $13,300 for expenditures required for contract with IGW to complete the RFP for design building services for Gill Building Replacement Project.
Second by Mr. Kurtz. Discussion. Seeing none, roll call.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Smucker.
Yes.
Wysocki.
Yes.
Ammons.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett.
Yes.
Benzel.
Yes.
Betts.
Yes.
Carter. Cowart.
Yes.
Dennitz.
No.
Gladney.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
No.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Langenheim.
Yes.
McGinty.
Yes.
Michaels.
Yes.
Mosier.
No.
Nudo.
Yes.
O'Connor.
No.
Weibel.
Yes, motion carries.
And then from the Goldenrod, the consent agenda, Finance D2, adoption of resolution number 7388, budget amendment from the Regional Planning Commission, workforce investment for $90,000, receipt of federal stimulus funding for community gardening project.
Second by Mr. Smucker. Discussion. Ms. Ammons?
Yes, I was just interested. I did try and call about this project so that the public would know about the project. Did you get more information?
We have
I just
Darlene
wanted
Klopper
more
here, if she'd be
information.
willing to step up to the microphone.
I'm Darlene Kleppel, the Social Service Director at the Regional Planning Commission, and I can talk a little bit about the project this evening. I brought a couple of notes so I don't forget anyone. For the past several years, the Regional Planning Commission has tried to do some little pilot community garden projects. They've been more or less successful with some volunteer effort and a variety of partners. This year, several items came together so that we're able to do a very much larger project, and I will just tell you about what that is. We started with our CSBG stimulus funding, and we hired a community garden coordinator with some of those funds. She's the person that's putting together all of the pieces that are going in place right now. The city of Champaign has been wanting to find good uses for several vacant lots in the city, and one of the lots is on First Street, which has now become the North First Street Prosperity Garden. This is supported by the North First Street Merchants Association, and the city contributed the land for use for that purpose. A group of students from the University of Chicago's Leadership Institute this summer came down about a month ago and helped build the raised beds that you now see on that lot, and some local businesses contributed the vegetables that are growing. There were several plants, tomatoes and peppers and things like that. The kids from the Boys and Girls Club are participating in that garden project, and they will also be doing a lot that's on the corner of Randolph and Bradley. There's a community garden area up there, and they're doing some of those plots. And they will be doing that as a project that the Boys and Girls Club kids will be involved with for the summer, as well as the Jump kids who are in the diversion program there. In addition, we have a couple of plots over here in Urbana, and the Urbana Connection Center is going to be participating and taking care of some of those gardens. Their facility is located on property that's owned by the Housing Authority, which has agreed to let them make a garden on their plot. And so we will have permission to till that up and make that into a garden this year. Some other businesses like Lowe's and Carl and Provena have contributed supplies, or Provena actually also is letting us use a big plot south of Savoy out in farmland. There's a variety of different vegetables being grown. The vegetables will be used by the kids to learn about nutrition. They have kitchens that they're able to work in. The Cooperative Extension is helping them learn about planting the gardens. The Master Gardeners are working with the project as well. The kitchens at the Champaign-Urbana Public Health District are being used also to help people up there learn about nutrition, and they also have raised beds outside their facility that we will be gardening. So there's just a whole variety of things that are coming together. This grant that we're requesting is for the piece that employs the youth to work in the gardens. And it buys some of the supplies, some of the seeds, those kind of things that are not, the ones that were not contributed. It pays for a garden assistant for our gardener, and it pays for 20 youth for part-time employment for the summer to work in the gardens. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Further questions for Ms. Kleppel?
Thank you very much for that explanation.
All right, thank you, Darlene.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All right, roll call.
Richards?
Yes.
Rosales?
Yes.
Schrader? Yes. Smucker?
Yes.
Wysocki?
Yes.
Ammons?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Beckett?
Yes.
Benzel?
Yes.
Betts?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Coert?
Yes.
Denitz?
Yes.
Gladney?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Knott?
Yes.
Kurtz?
Yes.
Langenheim?
Yes.
McGinty?
Yes.
Michaels?
Yes.
Mosier?
Yes.
Nudo?
Yes.
O'Connor?
Yes.
Weibel?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Rosales. Okay, policy, personnel, and appointments. Mr. Betts.
Move adoption of resolution number 7409, appointing Wayne Williams to the Champaign County Board of Review, and so moved.
Second by Mr. Beckett. Discussion. I think a roll call vote might be appropriate. Everybody agree? Let's have a roll call.
Richards?
Yes.
Rosales?
No.
Schrader?
Yes.
Smucker?
Yes.
Wysocki,
Yes.
Ammons,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Beckett,
Yes.
Benzel,
No.
Betts,
Yes.
Carter,
No.
Cowart,
Yes.
Wait, hold on, confusion here. Mr. Carter, you wish to, let's clarification what your vote is. Mr. Carter, what is your vote? You said yes and no. Your vote is yes.
duly noted.
2 times out of 3. Ms. Cowart.
Cowart, Dennett,
No.
Gladney,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jay,
No.
Jones,
No.
Knott,
No.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Langenheim,
Yes.
McGinty,
Yes.
Michaels,
No.
Mosier,
No.
Nudo,
No.
O'Connor,
No.
Weibel.
Yes. Motion carries.
Move
Go ahead, sorry, Mr. Betts.
Move adoption of Resolution 7386, placing an advisory referendum regarding the number of county board members and number of multi-member districts on the November 2nd, 2010 ballot, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Knott. Point out that we have a version of it here that's sort of vermilion color. Mr. Beckett.
So I want to move a substitute resolution number 7386, which is the orange copy.
Oh, he's orange copy, okay.
Orange copy found at your desk, but I even want to change a word in that before I move it. The ballot question on the resolution should read, shall the Champaign County board size be reduced? And reduced replaces the word changed. Shall the Champaign County board size be reduced from 27 members elected from 9 multi-member districts with 3 members elected from each district to 22 members elected from 11 multi-member districts with 2 members elected from each district? I move that as a substitute motion.
I consider perfectly friendly as a mover.
Okay, we'll make that the main motion. Is there any problem with that?
Who seconded it?
Not seconded. Okay, my question to you, Mr. Beckett, how is this changed from the one that's in the book?
It's the ballot question.
Just only the ballot question?
Right. If you look on page 54, the ballot question in the original motion says change from 27 members to 22 members. The number of districts changed from 9 to 11.
So just
and I felt that was
rephrasing it.
I rephrased the
Okay.
ballot question. With help from Mr. McGinty.
Okay, discussion. Mr. Gladney.
What if it said would be changed from 27 members elected from 9 3-member districts, and then went on to say, as opposed to 22 members elected from 11 2-member districts?
So you're trying to shorten it, is that?
Yeah. I mean,
semantically, it's the same thing. I think what you're basically saying, it's a little bit confusing because you got.
Okay.
Is that
It's not a huge deal to me. I just was wondering whether that would be more concise, but.
So you just want to say from 27 members elected from 9 multi-member districts. So I want you to state again what you were thinking about.
Said from 27 members elected from 9 3-member districts, and then have the other part say, from 22 members elected from 11 2-member districts.
9 3-member districts.
I agree it's shorter, but I think the phrase multi-member district means something in this context. So I think having the word multi-member district actually means something, like legally, and calling it 9 3-member, someone who understands Illinois government would construe that to mean multi-member districts, but they might not. So I think the word multi-member means something in terms of voting in Illinois.
That's fine. It was just something.
All right, Ms. Anderson.
This is really, I guess, a question. When you, Mr. Beckett mentions multi-member districts. Having heard a conversation the other day, not about this, but about the state legislature, we used to have multi-member districts, 3 people, but they were all elected in the same year. I wonder if anybody would think of this as two members being elected in the same year.
Yeah, you talking about what the legislature used to be like?
Yeah, we used to elect 3 from a district, but they weren't, they were all elected at the same time.
Right.
Every 2 years.
Mr. Betts?
Well, the next board that gets seated in December will have to decide when they're doing the reapportionment. Do they want it staggered? We can have it so they're all elected at once, or we can stagger it as it's done now. But that's a vote by the next board. That, again, cannot be done as a binding referendum by voters any more than this is.
Well, this is an advisory referendum.
That's right.
So, Mr. Moser, did you have a comment?
Just what Mr. Betts said.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to the main motion. As you know, my opinion is that I like the size of the board as it stands now, and I don't see anything wrong with allowing the vote, certainly our taxpayers, our voters, our constituents to vote and weigh in on what they feel our board size should be. But I want to give them something besides a tie vote that could happen on a 20-11 board. I mean, if we're going to give them something to vote for, let's give them something that will allow them, if this is supposed to be for efficiency, how many ties will make this an inefficient board? And so, besides the fact that I enjoy the diversity on the board, the rural representation, the minority representation, the expertise and experience of our board members who all bring something to the table, I enjoy the back and forth conversation that allows me to make a decision based on experiences that I may not have. We may lose women off the board, and I want to thank the Republican Party for bringing a woman onto their constituency. It's about time, guys, that you had a woman on that side. Okay, now that's only my personal opinion. I don't want to get started on a discussion here about it, but I don't want to lose any women from the board. I think they bring a unique perspective, and so I will vote against this for those reasons, but not because I don't want it in front of the voters. I want it for them to have a reasonable choice. Thank you.
Mr. Knott?
First, I'll point out, Al, hopefully you'll lose your election. We'll replace you with a woman. So we're working hard on that for you. You said the Republicans are working, so we're working hard. So, but to the real point, I guess we have talked about this a good 4 or 5 years, maybe decades. Heck, I don't know. Mr. McGinney and myself brought this as one of the original 10 points to take a look at. And, last meeting people asked, well, why did you go ahead and decide to ask the voters to put it out there? And it just seemed to me as the course of the discussion went, and based on all the other background that we've had in the last couple of years, it makes complete sense to have the voters weigh in on this. I mean, there's nothing more self-serving, in my opinion, than the board does to draw their own districts to determine their size. Why not have the outside, which in this case is the public, decide or at least give us some advice about potentially which way we could go. Now, it has been mentioned this is advisory, but I guess for me personally, I will be here next board term. I couldn't imagine that we would turn around and ignore this. I mean, if the voters said, yes, we would like to reduce the board and go to 22 by 11, I think it would be very difficult to ignore that. On the flip side, if the voters say they're perfectly fine with 27, 9 districts by 3, that's what we need to go with too. But I think this gives a measure for the board to go by from the public opinion.
Mr. Langenheim.
First of all, I'd like to endorse the comments of Mr. Kurtz. And secondly, I'd like to point out that if you take a look at this proposition, it doesn't significantly change anything.
Mr. McGinty.
For what it's worth, I contacted Mr. Knott because I did not make the last committee of the whole meeting and asked why this was being put on as an advisory referendum, because I'm ready to make a decision. You know, we're paid the big bucks to, and I mean that facetiously, to make these decisions. We should be making these decisions. With that said, I'm fine with sending it to the public. I have a pretty good feel for how it's gonna turn out, and I'm pleased because I think that they're going to vote to reduce the size. Anybody who has looked at our meetings knows how dysfunctional we've been, and if you don't believe that, then that's up to you. But certainly the viewers I've talked with, and the people who've looked on the web, and people who have been in the audience see our dysfunctional nature by the sheer size of what we have now with 22 members. You know, how often do we have a full house? A lot of times we have 26, 24 members here, and it doesn't make a bit of difference. We still decide things, we still vote on things. At the time when we actually lock this in, perhaps what we do is on a tie vote, we send it back to committee. Perhaps we say a tie vote fails. Who cares? Let's reduce the size of this board and ask the people to help us here. I think that this is a reasonable compromise. I'd love for the board to be much smaller, but I'm willing to compromise because this is a good step. It might be baby steps, but this will create, in my opinion, more accountability. This is a good thing to do.
Mr. Nudo.
We all know what red herrings are, and we've got a couple of red herrings here. We're going to lose diversity. If you take a look at a sample map from 2000, you will produce quite a bit of diversity with the way compact and contiguous districts are drawn. You will get what you are going to achieve with that. You also talk about the issue of train of thought. Oh, tie vote. Thank you. As Brendan said, with any given time, we now have 26 members tonight. We have 26 members tonight with a potential tie. And what does a potential tie produce? In a case of a tie at a county board vote, the motion fails. That's in writing right now. So, you know, when we talk about these things, let's be realistic about what we're trying to achieve here. And I think that the voters should have the ability to tell us, and I hear time and time again about the non-binding merit of this, but to me, if they tell us what they want, I'm sticking with it. And I think a majority of people here would do well to do the same.
Mr. Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been on the board just about 14 years, and I have always supported a very large board, 27. When single-member districts were on the ballot the last time, I voted not to put it on the ballot and worked to defeat it. The longer I've been on the board, the more I realize that single-member districts, I think, were a good idea. A smaller board would be a better idea. The 22 two-member district, two-to-a-district proposition, I don't think it necessarily is going to make it a more functional board. I think functionality has to do with the people who serve on the board, whether it's 27 people, 22, or 15. I do not happen to believe that this is a dysfunctional board. I think there's a lot of discussion, a lot of argument. That's called democracy. And it's supposed to happen. You are supposed to have arguments. You are supposed to have discussion. And I appreciate the discussion that we have. And sometimes it's very heated. Sometimes it's even personal. But most of the time it's civil and very useful. I support putting on the ballot because I do believe that the voters need to be invested in this process. I would much rather have a 17-member, single-member board or even a 15 one, but the votes aren't there to put that on the ballot. So realistically, I support putting this on the ballot, and if the voters, and I'm not convinced that the voters, what they're going to do, because we don't know. The election's a long ways off. They could say yes, they could say no. No one really knows until those votes are counted. But I think that we should periodically give voters a chance to have this say-so over the government that they're paying for.
Mr. Mosier.
We went around the county 10 years ago having meetings about single-member districts and 9 3-member districts, and then I don't know how many times I went to Tolona or Muhammad or Longview and went to a meeting. We ended up with what we had, but the turnout at those meetings was an insignificant number of voters that they didn't care or they didn't show up. And I think this is a good way to put it out there so everybody can express their opinion. I'm going to vote for it.
Mr. James.
I will always agree that anything we put out before the public within, certain reason and cost, that it's a good way to go. Let them have their say. Let them tell us what they feel. I said it last time, I'll say it again. If we were down to 5 members, look at our Illinois House. There's certain people that run the show, and you can have 100 and some in there. I just think that the people need to tell us what they'd sort of like, and then we deal with it, like Mr. McGinty said, because we are the board, and then we make whatever steps we need to take. I think it's the right thing to do, and I support it, and if I lose my job to another woman, so be it.
Further discussion?
Roll call.
I think we want a roll call vote. Roll call vote, please.
Richards?
Yes.
Rosales?
Yes.
Schrader?
Yes.
Smucker?
No.
Wysocki?
Yes.
Ammons?
Yes.
Anderson?
No.
Beckett?
Yes.
Benzel?
Yes.
Betts?
Yes.
Carter?
Is this reducing the board?
Yes.
No.
Well, it's, yeah. It's for an advisory referendum, Mr. Carter, to reduce the size of the board.
Oh, put it on it.
Put it on the ballot.
Yes.
Coert? Dennett's?
Yes.
Gladney?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Jones? Knott?
Yes.
Kurtz? Langenheim? McGinty?
Yes.
Michaels?
Yes.
Mosier? Nudo?
Yes.
O'Connor?
No.
Weibel?
Yes, motion carries.
I move adoption of resolution number 7411 to establish places of election. So moved.
Second by Mr. Knott. Discussion. This is item 13 from the consent agenda that was pulled off. Mr. Schrader.
Yeah, I asked this be pulled off. Mr. Sheldon, I had, if you could go to the mic. I just had a question about finish my statement. I had a question about this resolution. Is this something we do before every election cycle?
It's a June meeting item that we started doing a few years ago on a kind of a regular basis. And so it was set for the agenda, but then last week, or I guess it was last week when I presented the list of polling places as they exist right now. And then I attached a memo regarding consolidation, basically saying that if that was one of our options to obtain the necessary ballot boxes for the early voting precinct or center on campus, if that ends up getting signed by the governor. And so I'm not sure exactly what was passed last week because there wasn't any discussion. I think you're presented just with the list as it is. I wouldn't suggest changing it unless we knew the governor was going to sign it. We don't really know what he's going to do. And so potentially we could pass this tentatively with, or a consolidation plan as a tentative, that is if the bill is passed, or, I presented other options to deal with the ramifications of the bill.
So I assume that the regular polling places is what we're approving with this resolution, I assume, without being amended.
If there's nothing else done, that would be my assumption at this point, yes.
Okay. And then if the governor doesn't sign it, it's not vetoed, then it's going to be law anyway, after 60 days on his desk? Or
Well, actually, my constitution may not be, I think because the legislature is not in session, that if he doesn't sign it, it's a pocket veto, I think, right?
Well, it is. It's the other way around. I'm
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah.
Stand corrected. Okay. So he has to sign it within 60 days.
Mm-hmm. So that'll be about August 10th, I think.
Okay. So with that in mind, I'm assuming, what's your recommendation then for what you've suggested as what you propose to consolidate these polling places that are on the updated list that's on this sheet dated June 15th, a letter from your office. I assume you're going to come back if that isn't vetoed and ask for these changes?
Well, I presented three options. The buying just 12 new tabulators, consolidating the precincts to get 12 tabulators from existing polling places and using those at the early voting center, or the do-nothing option, which is an interesting option that you could read about. I mean, the do-nothing option, I think, has certainly a lot of disadvantages and problems associated with it, but I would essentially say right now it's kind of in your court as a board.
Because if we don't do anything, it's going to cost us what, $60,000-$70,000 for a new machine.
Well, I'm not going to buy. If you say do nothing, I'm not going to. Just the do nothing option is just to bring a single tabulator from our 5 backup tabulators over to the campus polling place and do what we call a hot swap, moving cards in and out for the 12 different polling place or absentee ballot box cards that hold all the precincts, pushing those in and out, which is not really good form, but it can work. The problem is that if the polling center is busy, it'll create lines because it takes longer. It's also has a potential there's probably some equal protection concerns, and then there's also the issue of what do we do? We'll have one ballot box with all these ballots, and that becomes a challenge on election day as we take all those ballots out and do our ballot audits. It's probably going to make election day, although either way, election day is probably going to be longer to count the ballots because of the extra early voting center.
And just for clarification, too, we're not talking about long lines or anything during election day. This is well in advance of election day. What this legislation is going to push us to do. Is that correct? You're just talking about what the legislation is going to require, and only certain places too. This isn't going to happen in McLean County either, which is amazing to me.
No, it's going to happen in McLean County.
It is going to happen in McLean County? Okay,
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, I don't know how they'll deal with it. They have a different, I believe the McLean County has a different absentee voting system than we do. I think they use touch screens, so it changes the dynamics a little bit for them.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Sheldon? No, I have one question for you.
You're the chair.
Okay, all right. Mr. Beckett?
I may have missed it, but at the discussion we had the other night, you said while you had given us those 3 options, those weren't the only options. I recall you saying anybody could come and visit with you and suggest other approaches because you had an open mind, you wanted the best solution depending on what happened. And my understanding of the resolution that we had tonight is it's the one that you give us every election cycle at this time where you have worked and designated polling places. Is that right? Is that correct? Is there something different about the resolution this time than there was June 2 years ago?
Well, I kind of wanted to go back to your previous statement because I think you were making it sound as if I misrepresented the options.
You said you gave us 3 options, and you and I had a discussion, and I suggested there might be other options, right?
You said, I don't see option D here, is what you said.
All right.
And I said, I'm willing to look at option D if somebody brings it to me.
I'm not asking for a debate with the guy.
Well,
Slow down, guys, slow down. Let Mr. Beckett finish, Mr. Sheldon. You'll have time to.
I asked you a question,
react.
Mr. Sheldon. Is this the same resolution that we get in June of every election cycle where you tell us what the polling places are you've designated?
you're not asking for a debate. You get up here and you say things like that, and you say,
Sheldon,
you know what,
answer the question, please, Mr. Sheldon.
No. We can either have a civil discussion where I don't have people telling lies
Mr.
about...
Sheldon, I will make the rules in this bill that start what's civil or not. You do not do that. I do it as chair. According to Robert's rules, please answer the question. I will debate whether you're out of order or whether you're out of order. Just please answer the question.
Well,
could you want to repeat the question for him, please?
I'm sorry, but there's no obligation for me to come up here and take that kind of disrespect and that type of stuff.
I want both of you to settle down. Both of you.
No.
Mr. Beckett and Mr. Sheldon. Okay?
But no, I am going to settle. I'm just
Okay,
going to sit
fine.
here. That'll be fine. Yeah, and this is a board decision. The board can decide what they want to do here. That is fine. Please, go ahead and make your decision. Do whatever you think's best. I gave you 3 options. Please, if one of these is good for you, please go ahead and do it. I said I would take option D. If somebody's got it, please bring it to me. It's been a week. Nobody's brought it to me. I'm open for any suggestions. You know what it is. I'll sit down.
Mr. Schrader, can you answer the question for me? Is this a list of polling places like we get in June of every election year? Is it different?
The way I understand it is this list is the same as 2 years ago, the polling places, exactly.
Okay. And is it your understanding that the governor has not in fact signed or vetoed that bill?
No, we are waiting with heavy-hearted, sweaty palm anticipation, Mr. Beck.
Whatever he does. And if he does, then we'll have to decide what to do in the event he does.
I unfortunately was laying in a hospital bed Tuesday the 15th when you people discussed this. This is why I wanted some clarification tonight to see what exactly, I just wanted clarification, and I'm sorry it got down to this, but...
Well, I am too, and I'm sorry that Mr. Sheldon chose to interpret my remarks as somehow attacking him. I certainly didn't mean that.
I am perfectly happy to place, to consider this like 2 years ago, as all the polling places were 2 years ago for this next election. And if this legislation is not vetoed that's on the governor's desk that's going to cause us financial hardship, then I think we can deal with it later. But right now, I think this is what we're looking at because we don't have anything passed right now, or the governor has not signed it to make it law.
That was my understanding. That's why I asked the clerk the clarification, because he said we only had 3 options, or we had 3 options. And I didn't understand that you were moving that we adopt some option that the clerk had indicated to us. Is that true? Is there you or some member of your caucus that thinks we ought to adopt an option that the clerk has set forward to us?
Not to my knowledge, Mr. Beckett. My clarification tonight was to see if, from Mr. Sheldon, if this was the same election polling places as 2 years ago, and if it is, that's fine. Does that clarify what was passed in the Committee of the Whole last Tuesday? If this is it, great. Then I will support this. If the legislation that's currently on the governor's desk to change this because of financial hardship to this county, then I think we can look at it later on. I think we need to prepare for that, and I think Mr. Sheldon has done that by saying, hey, this is going to cost us a lot of money. We don't have it really in the budget. We can't get any special funds from the state. It's one of those fantastic ideas of state government where they send expense down to you through statutory legislation that's not funded by them, and there's no grants, I understand, from the federal government for any of this. So this is going to have to be borne in some way by this county. So I think by looking at this is 3 different ways that he's presented that we need to look at this and consolidate to try and save money to make this applicable and try to meet requirements, statutory requirements of potential state law.
I think you and I are saying exactly the same thing. I agree with you.
Ms. Abens.
I just have two questions. One is, are we at a time frame that we can't wait a little longer to make this decision? And then the second one is consolidated plans. How much time? I know we didn't send out from the clerk's office the normal voters guide that we had sent in previous elections, which what I received back is most people didn't know who was running in so many different places.
I think it's too early for that yet.
And so what I'm questioning then is how people would be notified about the changes in polling places. And consolidation makes me very uncomfortable because we know it takes a long time to get people accustomed to go to one place and then to change it. I'm really concerned about that. So I don't know what the answer to this is, but consolidation, I don't think I could support it at this point. I don't have enough information about how would actually, how the public would know and how they would be informed, which to me is greater of an issue than how much money we may have to spend. So,
Mr. Sheldon, would you be willing to answer those two questions?
In Champaign County, every time we've changed a polling place, we've always notified all the voters in the precinct of that polling place change. That's not required by law, actually, unless you do it within like days of the election. So we always do, as a matter of course. Typically, we add a letter to that explaining, because a lot of times you just put it on a voter card and people don't notice it. And so, you know, that costs extra money, and we're kind of broke right now, so that's one of those things we'd have to consider, how we're going to get the most information out as possible. We will not send out a voter guide this year. That's part of, and we didn't send it out last year as well, so that's part of the cut that we've already suffered because of the county's financial position. In terms of the timing, the sooner we know, the better. Right now, we're working on programming the election for the November election. So that's what I've spent a lot of the last couple of days working on. So the later we make that decision, it becomes increasingly challenging to do it in, let's say, August 25th is, I don't know when the August meeting is, but let's just say that would be, starting to push up against, some time frames. It would be. That's why having a sense of the board and where they wanted to go with this was part of my goal this month. Regardless of the legislation, or about where the legislation is, I was hoping to get a sense so we could see where we were going in our office. And I don't know if those are your questions. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Sheldon. Further discussion? Oh, Mr. O'Connor.
Just one isolated example, thank you. If the list does not include both Sedoras and Ivedale, I can't vote for it unless I've got constituent pressure to allow me to do so.
Ms. Anderson.
Well, I'm in one of those precincts. Actually, Al is in the precinct next to where I'm in 23, he's in 15, but they're right next to each other. And I remember the year that they're still those precincts, but we vote in the same place and share the equipment, and it works very well. And when I looked at that list and saw Sedoras and Ivedale, and it talked about, now I hope I get it right, I think it was Ivedale having to drive to Sedoras to vote. I wondered why maybe there wouldn't be other places in either Champaign or Urbana where you could combine. I know there are several, but it would seem to me where people are at least in the same city that it might be easier to do that rather than take two separate places out in the county.
Well, we did take that off. The list was selected primarily based on our understanding of the amount of space in a polling place, the amount of parking for voters, and a few other factors. But if there's some other, certainly we can take another look at what those selections were and whether or not there's some other ones that are good in there's variety. For example, the city of Champaign 7, I didn't move that. It's at Skelton Place, and like it at Skelton Place because there's a lot of voters that are in Skelton Place that we don't want to have them drive somewhere, for example. So that's one that we're disinclined to move, but we could. And there's other ones that have similar situations, and then parking and space for the voters is always a big issue. So a place like, let's say, Grace Church there, Prospect and Springfield is just not really a good spot to put an extra precinct. The polling place, the location where we vote there now is kind of cramped already. As just one example.
Further, is Mr. Carter.
What I'm trying to figure, I'm like Mr. Beckett, I'm trying to figure out, have a problem occurred this time on voting places, is it the same it was last voting?
The list is the same as it was in the February primary.
I'm trying to figure out where's your problem.
Well, the problem is if the legislation passes that requires us to open an early voting center on the University of Illinois campus, we need to have the equipment for that polling place, for that early voting center. And this is just one of the options to obtain to make that voting center run, equip it.
Well, you think he'd do that without ample time for you to get the voting places? I can't see why anybody would
put
you in that kind of situation.
Typically, the governor's office signs legislation towards the end of the period so they can review it as long as possible. And they take things that come up sooner. So, I wouldn't anticipate the governor signing this until early August if he does sign it, or vetoing it. I don't think we'll know until early August. We can certainly put off the decision if that's what you're asking.
Did you ask it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he would prohibit you from writing him a letter.
I've written him a letter already.
You
yes.
haven't gotten an answer back?
No, I have not received an answer back yet. But he's getting a lot of letters these days.
Man, well, I would write him another one.
Okay, you done, Mr. Carter?
Yeah.
Okay, further discussion. Ready for a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Motion carries.
Nothing further from policy.
Thank you, Mr. Betts. Is there any other business? Any new business? Seek approval of the County Board Study Session, closed session minutes for May 11, 2010.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Betts, second by Mr. Rosales. Any no discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned, 8:06.